Welcome back, sweet, beautiful souls. Today we are talking about parallel realities. So, this one is going to be a very out there topic, but I know you all are ready for it because I personally love this stuff. I'm like, bend my mind, let's go. And I know you guys are ready for that too. If you're not, you probably wouldn't be here. But this has been something I've been really excited to talk about, but have not felt qualified to talk about it. But I realized I've been studying this stuff for a while now. So I have to do a video, an episode on parallel realities. So, why I feel called to talk about this? First of all, everyone's talking about like timeline hopping, timeline jumping. And I feel like just parallel realities is like a hot, buzzy, fun topic. Now, we're going to be diving into like some of the nuances of this that I think are really important. And since I've started opening up more spiritually over the years and just gone deeper and deeper, like, and really committed to this path, I have learned a lot about parallel realities and different dimensions. And I think it's uh, it's more attainable than we believe. It's more attainable than we think. And that's really important to begin. That's really important to start off with, is that it's not this like thing that you have to master and get a monk on a mountain to like, you don't have to like do any of those things. So often a parallel reality is right on the other side of a decision that you make. I'm sure you can think back to a time in your life where you have made a decision and now all of a sudden you like everything changes because this is what happens. We are always entering into parallel realities, whether we know it consciously or not. And I think especially like in these times that we've been experiencing where like the veil has become quite thin, I'm noticing this happen a lot more for people, is that like things that we once thought just were, they no longer are, or they're a bit different. Now, if you've read any of Dolores Cannon's work, you will know and see that this is very um normal, like what's normal, but um parallel realities are a thing. So one thing that she talks about in the book is that like one person who did a past life session, they were like very confused because one day they were walking and there was a house. The next day they were walking, that house was not there. And so when they went into this hypnosis session, they were asking like what was happening. They were like, we just went into a parallel reality. You went into a different dimension. You went into a different reality. So here's the thing. Oftentimes that is already happening. We just don't consciously know. We just don't consciously know. So how do we actually begin to use this power and this awareness to actually create a new parallel reality and step into it? Okay. How do we actually do this? And it's much simpler than you think. But before we get to that, this conversation has been sparked. I started this book. It's called, I have my notes. I pulled up my notes. Parallel visions. I don't think that parallel versions of self, I think is what it's called, or parallel realities. This book, I'll link it down below, by Frederick Dodson. I pulled up my notes on my phone and I was taking these notes 3322. So literally over a year ago, way over a year ago. I started this book and I recently hopped back into it. And it's so funny how when you revisit like a text that um you were in like a while ago and how it's like a totally different text, And as I was reading the notes that I took on my phone, if you don't take notes on your phone, I'm just going to say, like, this will change your life. On your computer, on your phone, in a notebook, like, just taking notes. Just take notes about your life. And whether it's things that you're learning or realizations you're having, like, this will actually help. This is so great that this is coming up, because this will help you enter into a new parallel reality, because then you will actually see proof that you are in a new reality. Okay. And that's really like the biggest secret that I want to dispel right now, is that it's not that you are always going somewhere, okay? A parallel reality does not mean you are going somewhere new. A parallel reality is a different state of consciousness. So what does this mean? People in your life can stay the same, or they can change, but it's not because of what you did. It is simply because you are perceiving it new. That's why we say the world is not what it is, it's what you perceive it is. So when we change our perspective, our lens in which we view reality, the reality shifts and changes. This is a parallel reality. This is a parallel reality, because this means that our state of consciousness has shifted. When our state of consciousness has shifted, we have entered into a parallel reality. Now, Dolores Cannon says there are infinite realities available, always. And one of the greatest bits of wisdom to know is that if you can perceive it, it exists. If you can perceive it, it exists. Period. So whatever you're seeking to create, whatever dream you are dreaming, it already exists in the quantum. It already exists in the quantum. And this is why doing quantum work with my clients is one of my absolute favorite things, because this is where we see like shifts so quickly. We see instant manifestations. We see people change around us. I will never forget. This happens quite frequently. But more recently, I took a session with a client, and she was really struggling with her partner. She was like about to end things with him. We worked on the energetics. Literally the next time I saw her, 2 weeks later, she said, "You'll never believe it. Things with him are great. We're like literally we have never been doing better. He's completely changed the way he does things. He's supporting me. She didn't tell him anything. She didn't tell him anything. But because we worked on the energetics, this is part of, she literally entered into a parallel reality, into a new dimension, into a different reality, because this is what energy work does. This is what energy work does. So really, like, what I want to like dispel and illuminate perhaps at the same time is that a parallel reality is not some like wild crazy thing that like you have to work really hard for and like do all of these magic tricks for. It's like actually you're doing it all the time. However, to know that you're doing it all the time now, how can you be more conscious about doing it? So this doesn't always mean you're going to create or step into a favorable parallel reality. Sometimes you wake up and here's the thing, like there's different, how do I want to frame this? How do I want to say this? What would be the best word for this? There's different textures, there's different variables. There's different variables and levels of intensity. That's what it is. There's different levels of intensity of like, imagine your life, your current state, okay? And there's going to be a vibration, a frequency that is simply one step above. You're probably not even going to notice it because it's so subtle. And so if you were to go to that parallel reality, you probably wouldn't even notice it because it's just one step above. Then there's also like the next octave, and then the next octave, and then the next octave. And so getting to higher octaves, this is where things are going to change more and more. This is where like quantum leaps and when people really talk about like timeline jumping and timeline hopping and entering in a new dimension, like this is what we're talking about, because we can actually viscerally see and track it because it is so different, right? So one of the best ways to get to this is to, Frederick Dodson, he talks about in the book, is that going to the 0 point field is one of the greatest ways to create and step into a parallel reality and step into a new dimension. Why this is the case is because when we come to the 0 point field, we're one with source. We are able to come into this place and space where we see that all things are possible, all things are. Now, this is something that I lead myself through, that I've led clients through, and it's a really powerful place. And I believe that this is if we're looking for a big change, a really different reality than the current one that we're living in, going to the 0 point field is very important. Not always necessary, but I don't even want to say important. I'm going to say it will make the process much smoother and easier. And perhaps give you more clarity of where to go and where you're going. When we get to the 0 point field, all the things that we deem as, quote, bad, wrong, they just are. And all the things that we deem as good and better, they just are. And so from this place and space, what do you want to create? From this place and space, what do you want to create? If something is not good or bad or right or wrong, so often what we're stepping into is because we think we should be there. We think that it would make us happy. When we go to the 0 point field, we are now getting in touch with our soul. What does our soul want? What does our soul want? This is a really important question to ask, because when we create things from shoulds and desires that are not our own, we will not be fulfilled. And that's truly the purpose and point of life, is fulfillment. It's not to always be happy. It's not to always rainbows and butterflies. It's actually seeking like growth and fulfillment, right? And you can find growth and fulfillment in following your soul. You always will. You always will. And you're still going to find growth and learning and opportunities when you don't follow your soul, but you're not always going to get the fulfillment. So I felt called to pull up my notes on my phone that I took. I listened to this book, I remember, when I was on vacation, because I was at a vortex. It felt so to me, at least. I was in Mexico, and I was really like feeling the galactic energies there, and I was like, oh, this is the perfect book to read at this place. I didn't finish it. It's quite a long book. I still haven't finished it, but this is where I started it. And so as I've been diving back in, and as I was recording this today, I thought, oh, like I need to pull these notes back up. And some things I just want to read, some like little excerpts or rather my notes that I took from the book. So just based off of like what I was sharing, this is so perfect. The first thing that I see: the world cannot give you anything of lasting value. It can only reflect to you what you are giving yourself. This is part of reality creation, and going into a parallel reality is seeing that it's all a reflection. It's all a mirror. The wizard does not want to have more, but to be more, because he knows that when he stops chasing the world starts chasing him. Spend time being silent until you find happiness in the here and now. Finding well-being independent of outside being and objects. You cannot desire something that does not exist. It's not possible. If it didn't contain the potential to experience it, you wouldn't even be able to feel it or think it. Coming back to the I am, the observer and the witness, and from the 0 point field, you are receiving. You start receiving, not creating versions of self, and then you enter the viewpoint of the preferred vision. So I think these are all really fun to, I could go into each one of these at length because they feel like there's so much in each one. But, you could really just call stepping into a parallel reality like manifestation, if it's what you want, harnessing the law of attraction, or you could decide that you get to consciously create your life with your soul and source, and that in every moment, a parallel reality, a new dimension is available to you. And when we realize and really get to know in the depth of our being that it's not as hard or as difficult as we want. And again, this is hard sometimes for our human to understand that, or conceptualize rather, that there are infinite realities available to us at any given moment. That can feel like a lot. And yet there are. And so one decision can shift you to a new reality. This is why so often when people come to work with me, the second that they make the payment or the second that they make the appointment, their life starts to change because you've literally decided that your growth and expansion are of importance, and that shifts you to a parallel reality. Truly. I see this happen so often. Or they'll get an quote unexpected payment or client or whatever it is, or all of a sudden this other area of their life improves. You have gone into a parallel reality. I have noticed this myself. One time I was walking and I literally saw, I used to just call it a glitch in the matrix, but now I'm like, no, it's a parallel reality. And it still kind of is a glitch in the matrix. When one day I was like, that was not there. That was not there yesterday. And then the next day it was gone again. You can't explain these things. And I just wonder so often, people who are in these insane asylums, how much of it is them just waking up and just being so tapped in that they don't know how to navigate it, right? That's my perception, and my belief is that no one's crazy. They just don't know how to navigate their ascension and their growth and the things that are happening to and for them, because everything's happening for you. Everything's happening for a reason. Everything's happening to support you in your growth and your expansion and your evolvement. But we see it as problems. We see it as something wrong. We see it as something bad. We see it as something that we don't have control over, that it's just happening to us. But when we know that we are co-creators with source and that we can go to a new reality, a new dimension at any given moment, now life begins to get a lot more fun, a lot more interesting, a lot more playful, because we get to play with the universe. We get to play with our experience of reality, because we see and know and come to understand that there is a new parallel reality always available to us in any given moment, any given second. Sure, some may be more subtle than a huge quantum leap, but know that a parallel reality is truly just one decision away, one move away, one breath away. Like, I just want you to envision in your mind right now, you're walking down the street and you see a person, you're passing by a person, and you get the 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 nudge to say something to that person. But your ego is like, I don't know that person. I should just keep going. Which one are you going to choose? In this moment, you have an opportunity to enter in a parallel reality. Again, this is a subtle one, a subtle shift, but you have an opportunity here. And so perhaps when you go into meditation and you do go to the 0 point field and you get to the stillness in this deeper place within, this is where I like to think of it as, and this is just like coming through, this is how I see it. I don't know if this is what they talk about, but it's like when you go to the 0 point fields, you're setting the foundation, you're laying the foundation for what you want, because very rarely will you just like wake up from your meditation and it's like, oh, everything's new. I did it. Cool. It's here. No, you're going to go into the 0 point field. You're going to go into meditation. You're going to go into this space and you're going to lay the foundation for the parallel reality that you want to step into. After you come out of this, you are then going to be presented with opportunities and insights and downloads and things that come into your reality. What you choose to act on will determine what brings forth, if it will bring forth what you have laid the foundation for in the 0 point field. I hope that makes sense. But it's like, it's not that you just go into meditation and then you wake up and you're there. No, you go into meditation to the 0 point field and you lay the foundation. You lay the foundation. And so then it becomes very clear. Your subconscious mind knows what to create from there on out. And so it's going to pull forth these opportunities and experiences that will be opportunities for you to choose to step into this new reality. And it's not like you're going to miss any opportunities if you say no. Like, you'll get another one. Don't worry, dear soul, there will be another opportunity. But just know this, there's always going to be another opportunity, so you can't miss it. Because sometimes I think like, oh man, I should have said yes to the thing I said no to, or I should have said no to the thing I said yes to, or I should have gone there when whatever. Trust there will be another opportunity. There will. Because if you've laid that foundation, you know you can't miss what's meant for you. You can't miss what's meant for you. That is the perfect note to end on. Your parallel reality that you desire can't miss you. Anything you want to exist. If you can perceive it, it exists. That's a crazy thought to think about, because I could perceive some wild things. Literally, as I said that, the first thing I'm like thinking about is like ETs walking around among us. It exists. That reality exists. Who knows? Maybe it'll happen in my lifetime. Maybe it'll happen in my lifetime. And on that note, my loves, I'm sending you all infinite love and light.